Hello, my dear friends, fellow seekers of Zen and masters of occasional chaos. Welcome back to the second episode of the Raw Yogi podcast. I know I promised a weekly episode, but let's be real, some topics need a little bit more time to marinate. This week's topic is a juicy one, packed with layers of complexity and important takeaways. I had to make sure I approached it from the right angle, so I gave myself enough time to process my own experience with it. But guess what? I think we're finally ready to dive in head first. So let's get started. Today, my friends, we are diving into a concept we hear a lot in yoga circles. It sounds all zen and peaceful, but in real life, it's a whole different story. I am talking about grounding. You have probably heard these kind of advices. Plant your feet on the earth, hug a tree, connect with your breath, or spend time in nature to ground yourself. But seriously, is that really what grounding means? And does it really work when you feel like you're losing touch with reality? Over the past few years, I have been on a journey to figure out this whole grounding thing, and I think I have lost my grip on grounding more times than I can count, in different ways. And I have also seen people lose in touch with reality in even tougher ways. I believe that at some point in our lives, we all face that dark night of the soul where we dissociate from reality and we feel like we are losing our minds. So if you have been through this, I'm so glad you find your way back. And if you are going through it right now, stick around. This episode might have something to help you feel a little bit safer. The key is to learn to recognize when you are losing yourself and to figure out how to bring yourself back. So, my dear friend, it's time to make yourself a nice cup of tea, put on your headphones, and tune in with me for this quick chat. And remember, don't namaste everything I say. Whatever lights a spark in your soul, take it, run with it, make it your own. And if something doesn't sit right with you, just shake it off like a downward dog in the rain and keep walking. Don't forget to subscribe and share this content with those who need to hear it. So first, let's unpack this whole ungrounding thing so we have a better understanding of it. Because let's face it, we have all been there. It's not a very pleasant sensation, especially when you feel off. Your focus is all over the place, your mind is running in circles, and you can't seem to connect with the world around you. You space out, you lose track on time, and you might even find yourself wondering how you ended up in this spiral. Basically, it feels like you have lost touch with yourself, both physically and mentally. I personally have experienced this ungrounded state in 3 different scenarios, and I bet you will recognize yourself in at least one of them. I call these the 3 levels of mental struggle. The first one, I call it the mild drift. It's an easy peasy one, very simple to manage. It happens to all of us, probably once a week or maybe once a month if you're lucky. It goes like this. You wake up in the morning, you start your day, and out of nowhere, your energy drops. You disconnect from yourself for a moment and you can feel anxiety creeping in. It's not a fun feeling, so we usually try to distract ourselves with something mindless. And what I do when I go through that, I try to feed this emotion instead of sitting with it because it's easier. Okay? Yeah. And I go for some sweet things. I eat some sugar, some desserts. Or I call a friend. In my case, I call my sister. It's easy for me. And yeah, the moment I speak to someone, it helps me bring myself back to reality. It's not the best move to do because it's a way to run away from something that needs to be felt. But yeah, I think grounding yourself is the best move here. And yes, sitting in meditation, deep breathing, or simply connecting with nature can actually make the difference in this scenario. Then There is another time where I felt completely disconnected from this reality. I lost grip with the ground. I call this one the yoga roller coaster. Yeah, yoga, that practice that's supposed to leave you floating on a cloud of Zen. Well, not always. Some sessions can completely knock you off balance, especially if you are diving into these intense spiritual practices like active breathing, dynamic meditations, or Kundalini awakening. Hear me out here. These tools are incredibly powerful and it might speed up your healing journey, but that's not the point, I guess. It also unleashes a massive amount of energy, and sometimes the body is not prepared for it. And according to my experience, it can lead to not so zen sensation with some pretty intense side effects. I wouldn't recommend these practices to everyone, especially if you're not prepared for it, and especially if you are already depleted, your frequency is low, and you're not protected energetically. I wouldn't recommend you to approach these techniques. It's quite advanced one, and there is no need. Healing, thank God we don't have to do healing all at once and feel every single thing we have inside in one shot, because it's gonna eat us alive, man. So yeah, take it step by step. Every time, one layer will unpack, and give it some time. Circumstances will actually take you to that path of healing one way or another, which brings me to the third episode. The third scenario is the heavy one, okay? It's the big one. I call this one the emotional earthquake. Yeah, that's the real heavy stuff. We have all been there at least once, or we are going there one way or another, because that's how life will give you those healing moments in this journey. This is when you're hit with those big waves of intense emotions like deep grief, sadness, strong anger. It's usually triggered by major life events like painful breakup, losing a loved one, or receiving some shocking news that can shake you to your core. If I have to break down this process, it happens like this. Basically, in these moments, the pain is so overwhelming that it overpowers your strength. Because, everyone here, we are all trying to hold our shit together. And it requires so much strength to do that. When you see someone smiling and having fun, remember, they are also dealing with something deep within themselves. And yes, we need strength to play between these two faces, okay? These two masks. But sometimes life will give you those ass-kicking moments where the pain is stronger, than the strength you are using to feel, to be strong, to show up every single day. So what happens? You lose control. And when you are not grounded in that moment, because you are in that weak spot, your body can become a gateway for absorbing darkness, which brings in strong intrusive thoughts that will twist your vision and knock you completely off balance. You lose your joy, you lose your happiness, you become totally dissociated, and you find yourself in a very dark place mentally. It's a very scary experience. It's usually when we start seeking help. Okay. So this scenario is the toughest one. And that's the one I am going to focus on right now, because I have been going through that. I know people are going through this as well. And it requires a lot of technique and so much mindfulness to crawl yourself back to the surface. So after experiencing these ungrounding moments, one thing I could say for sure is those grounding techniques we learn in yoga are only effective at a certain extent. Because let's be honest, when you are going through a deep crisis, like losing a loved one, it's very hard to ask someone going through this to just take a deep breath or to go hug a tree because it's going to help them ground themselves. No, this is like your entire being is completely on a survival mode and you need bigger tools for that. So what actually works? How do we ground ourselves when we are in this fight or flight mode? Let's figure that out together. Let me take you back with me to the time when my own mind wasn't exactly on my side. I was crossing this dark mental place and my energy was so low that so many intrusive negative thoughts just took over like they owned the place. The truth is, when you are slipping into depression or burnout after any major life event, it's not like your brain will come and say, hey, just so you know, we are about to hit the rock bottom soon. No, it sneaks up on you. And before you know it, you're down the rabbit hole already. First thing, you need to recognize that you are in this state of depression and burnout, which is not easy. It took me some time to even realize what was happening, and I had to dig deep and face the fact that this wasn't just a rough day. It was something more serious, and it requires some strong presence to know when you're losing your mind, especially when your mind is the one doing the losing. And let me share with you the first game-changing insight. You have to confront that part of you that thinks, this would never happen to me. You know, this little delusion we hold into, believing we are immune to certain experiences because we do yoga, meditation, and we are so disciplined. No, we are not. Whether you're a monk, a yogi, a doctor, a CEO of your own empire, if life decides you need to taste a mental struggle, it is going to make sure you get it, and it will create a whole simulation that will lead you there. Believe me. And guess what? Judgment, it's like the VIP pass to that experience. What you judge, you will probably end up experiencing yourself just for you to understand it better. So, do we judge each other? Pretty much all day, every day, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these experiences, it's because you are judging. What I'm saying here, we all do judge each other unconsciously. The trick is, we need to catch ourselves in the act of judgment before it turns into a habit that might lead to more challenging experiences in the future. Reach out for something or someone to help you get grounded. But sometimes, the couch or the people on your couch might not be the best support system. And here is another game changer insight for you. I think we have all been there thinking, my parents don't understand me, my partner isn't supportive, or my siblings let me down when I needed them the most. But if you keep thinking this way, you will end up isolating yourself, which is just an intrusive thought trying to pull you deeper into the darkness. Instead of isolation, please choose to confront this false belief. Hear me out here. The people closest to you might not be able to help you, not because they are bad people or they don't care, but because they haven't walked the same path and they don't have the proper tools. And if they are emotionally involved with you, they might even project their own fears into you rather than offering the practical support you need. So let go of that idea that your closest circle should always be the first line of defense. Help can come from outside in many ways, from those who have been navigating similar struggles and found their way out. And sometimes even strangers can offer the guidance you need. I remember I was going through this when I was in Bali, and the person I thought would be my rock couldn't provide the support I needed. And I was so frustrated because I was fixated on the idea that this person should help. But they simply didn't have the tools. So I had to let go of this expectation and allow help to come from somewhere else. And you know what? When I let go of the expectation that a specific person had to help me, I started to see more options for guidance. And I ended up reaching out to a friend who is also a psychotherapist in Kuala Lumpur, and she gave me exactly what I needed. A clear explanation that brought me peace. Sometimes that's all we need. She also reminded me, Inti, you're a yoga teacher. You know the tools to navigate this. Use them. And let me tell you, it's one thing to have tools and another to know when and how to use them. And from the mental place I was in, none of my tools seemed to work. And I will tell you why. And there was my next kicker. While I was navigating this storm, none of the tools I relied on, yoga, meditation, breathwork, were working, which was both frustrating and confusing, especially since I teach these practices, so it has to work. And naturally, when you're doubting yourself, the outside noise gets louder. And I heard comments like, you can't be trusted if your yoga isn't working for you, or how can you even be in this mental state with all the yoga you do? Of course, hearing this, while I was navigating the struggle, was hard, and it made me question everything. And honestly, such comments are very harmful, especially to someone already struggling. But I believe not everyone knows how to offer support with the right words. You know, it's a skill, it's a practice too. But here is another game changer insight for you. If hurtful comments trigger you, it's because part of you might believe them too. I know it's hard to hear, but recognizing this is crucial so you don't get stuck feeling offended or playing the victim. And as hard as it was, I had to confront this part of me that was resonating with these triggers and address it. Since I was still crawling my way out of the dark hole, my usual yoga techniques weren't working, and it was time for me to set them aside and explore other options. I, of course, considered turning to the common solution, specialized mental health doctor, psychiatrist, who, of course, will offer me the quick fix, which is antidepressant, because it's easier to numb the feelings than to sit with them. Honestly, I'm not even sure how I found the strength to resist that path, but somehow I did. It was incredibly challenging, and I had to convince myself daily not to give in. Yes, dealing with mental health issues is painful and hard. It's tough to navigate intense emotions and mastering your mind over them. And at some point, you will be tempted to just shut it all down. But if I can give you one piece of advice, don't go for a quick fix. There is a solution, but it's not easy, and fortunately, it is the only real solution. And any quick fix or distraction will only delay the healing process. And as they say, if your path demands you to walk through hell, walk as if you own the place. My dear friends, here is my last game-changing lesson for you. Let me first start by sharing this story I have heard from a friend a couple of weeks ago. She told me about her Indonesian friend. Whenever life gets hard and he feels completely out of center, he flies back to his village to pray. Why? Because this is where his umbilical cord is buried. He believes that since part of him is under that land, that's the only place where he feels deep connection with God and he can pray with unwavering faith. This story hit me because I can relate to it, and that's exactly what my soul needed. I was in Bali, struggling to ground myself both physically and mentally, and with all the voices in my head, I finally managed to hear a clear voice somewhere in between. It said, if you want to find your ground, go back to your land. So, without any hesitation, I felt this pulse to return to Morocco. Just in time for Ramadan, the most energetically charged month for deep cleansing. Something shifted in me, changed my entire perspective on spirituality and how we use it. And I have learned something crucial in my yoga teachings. Our DNA carries specific ingredients unique to each one of us, and they exist for a reason. There is a reason you were born in a particular land, with specific parents, in a certain family, with a specific religion. These are your roots meant to help you unlock and navigate the depth of your soul. And you can't access these deeper parts of yourself with just any method. It's like trying to unlock your phone with the wrong number. For me, the number I needed to work on this time was my religion, my rooted religion, Islam. And I spent a year using it to heal my soul, not just through traditional random practice as praying or fasting. This time, I needed to bring mindfulness and awareness to these practices. And this awareness, I realized, was something I had learned in the yoga practice. But when I decided to activate the card I was born with, which was my spiritual rooted religion, Islam, all of a sudden, my yoga practice began to unlock in a new, different way. Because we often look to teachings like yoga and see them as a complete package. Sometimes we want to use them entirely. We bring the mantras, the mudras, the sequences as if they are the universal solution. But I think these practices won't unlock unless you integrate them with your own spiritual essence. Let me paint the picture for you. When I was in a dark mental place, practicing 100 sun salutations every day wasn't my remedy. Instead, using the principles of gazing, breathing, and focus within my Muslim prayer became my treatment. Praying without mindfulness wasn't effective for me. Just as meditating on Om or Soham, it's not my code. But applying the same mindfulness techniques to my own rooted invocations, that's what began to heal my soul. So before we wrap up things up, let's sum up this with some key points. First, God's ways of getting your attention aren't always what you expect. Heartbreak, meltdown, and tears might just be the upgrade package you didn't know you signed up for. But hey, from that mess, your call to God will be powerful enough to upgrade you to the next level. When those emotions, heavy emotions you have been suppressing finally demand your attention, don't run. Don't distract, and definitely don't try to numb them away with whatever option you have. Sit with them. This is when God wants you to be the most vulnerable and honest so He can do the heavy lifting. Faith isn't just a one-time deal. It's like a muscle that gets stronger the more it's tested. So if you're losing it a bit, it's okay. It's just make room for the new version of it. And grounding isn't about crystals, sage, or hugging a tree. I'm not judging, but it's an inside job. It's about sitting with all those battling parts of yourself and healing them. Mastering the tools of God He gave you already and doing it from a space of real understanding. And as Muslims, grounding is also related to the deeds we are assigned to do to keep balance in our lives. There is a quote I absolutely adore. One day you will tell your story about how you overcame what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide. And I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed to hear to navigate your own life test. And now I would love to hear from you. What resonates, what didn't? Share your thoughts, your stories, and even your own struggles. Let's keep this conversation going, and who knows, your words might just become someone else's survival guide. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and stay real.